few points about how we're going to run today, just so that you know. The session is being recorded, and we're hoping that we're going to be able to share it in some manner to be agreed with the Third Age Trust. No promises on that. It's a bit complicated. If you don't want to be seen on screen, then you can turn off your video, and that also sometimes helps to improve bandwidth anyway. During Frank's presentation, you'll all be muted, so we won't be disturbed by your unexpected phone call or a pneumatic drill outside your window or whatever else it might be. If a question occurs to you during the presentation, if you want to type it into chat so that it's there and it doesn't get forgotten, you can, if it's helpful, if you can precede it with 3 question marks. We do this in some other organisations that I'm in, because it makes it easy for our team to sort of spot which are the actual questions rather than comments or chat type things. So that's kind of quite helpful. And I'm not sure if Frank's going to go kind of all the way through his presentation in one, or if it's going to be in sections, but at suitable point, there will be a chance for questions and answers and discussion about what he said, I hope. And you can also use the raise hand feature, which is in the more section of your screen, and we'll get through as many of them as we can. First, we'd like, if Mike could perhaps do this, the disclaimer notices that we need to use at the beginning of each of our sessions.
Okay, the terms of reference for the help and discussion drop-in sessions on Zoom, I'll just read through them. This drop-in session is provided with the intention of members coming together to share knowledge, experience and best practice on various aspects of technology, including software, of interest to u3as and their members. We are unable to offer one-to-one advice to u3as and their members, as all locations and abilities differ and operational decisions need to be made by the individual u3as. Items of equipment or software shown or listed in these sessions are there to give an idea of what is needed and the approximate cost. It is not to be treated as a recommendation or that it is the only suitable piece of equipment or software. What you may decide to purchase is for your own u3a to choose based on available funds and your own particular needs. Okay, back to you, Kathy.
Thank you, Mike. So, Frank is the national support lead for the u3a beacon system. We have met before once, Frank. I think you came to a webmasters London region meeting in, I don't know, 2020 or something. So it's a while ago, but I remember it was really useful then too. So would you like to let us know what you're covering during today and make a start on that? I imagine you can share screen if you want to as well.
Okay, that's fine, as long as I can.
Yeah.
Somebody set that up, yeah. Good.
Yes, it's available.
Right,
Cheers.
well, initially, what I thought about this discussion today would be about Beacon, but not do a PowerPoint. I have PowerPoints and various slides I can show. But if we want to go into Beacon, we'll bring up the demo site live and we can have a look and have a play with things if we need to. But I just want to go through what Beacon does and where we are. And the structure behind supporting Beacon to give you an idea of what the team do as well. And then if we've got time, then we'll go on to look at answering any of your questions where you might have queries of how do you reconcile accounts in Beacon? How do you get around accruals, because you can't do accruals in Beacon on the face of it, and the various things like that, and the questions that we get asked on a regular basis. So initially, where we are with Beacon and where we are in the support of Beacon. Beacon currently is used by 545 u3as, and that is more than half of the u3as in the UK. We do get some gains and losses over the years, and I think we're on a net gain for this year, and we've lost, I think, something like, or will do by the end of Friday, about 4 u3as in total, but most u3as are very happy with Beacon. It manages communications very well, but it's not a website to advertise your u3a by. And that's one of the things I'll come on to at a later point. Behind Beacon, we've got a team of 44. That team manage in their own individual groups enhancements of Beacon. When I say enhancements, the latest enhancement that we've put on is to improve the gift aid experience, in that initially when gift aid was put into Beacon, and it was an ability to collate all the gift aid payments made into Beacon, the screens that were shown were just a screen with a tick that said, are you okay? Are you, I'm going to say accessible, but are you, what's the, maybe someone can help me with the word.
Eligible.
Eligible, that's right. Are you eligible for gift aid? But since those days, HMRC have said, oh no, you must be much more rigorous than that. You must say, do you pay tax in UK? Do you do this? Do you do that? And therefore, have you paid enough tax to accept that your subscription can go into the pot for gift aid? So if you look at the gift aid screen now, when someone renews online, there are much more detail on there. And it doesn't just say, are you eligible for gift aid? It says, are you eligible or are you not eligible for gift aid? Therefore, you've got to tick one or other of the boxes before you move on. Because what we found, or what the government was saying to us, well, if, right, I've been spotlighted, that's very nice, I appreciate that. But it seems a bit peculiar just talking to myself, I must admit. But what the government said was that we're not happy that people don't make a choice when you actually bring gift aid up. People need to say yes or no. They can't just carry on tick, tick, tick and continue with the same. So what you'll find is the latest on gift aid is there is a dialogue in that box now where you must say yes or no. And then behind that, in the Beacon system, there is when you go to the Beacon screen or Beacon gift aid screen, it's got a tick box list of all the people who are eligible for gift aid on that screen. So it's easy to see who's gift aided. And it also keeps a record of when people were gift aided, whereas before you had to keep a paper record. Now you can keep a record on Beacon of the gift aid actually made or not made. Can I ask a favour? I need to not highlight myself because I'm feeling like a bit of an idiot. That's better, thank you, I appreciate that. Just seemed a bit straight. I'm like talking into a mirror.
Anybody that wants can actually spotlight you on their own screen and it doesn't affect everybody else.
Yeah, which is absolutely fine. And I'm quite comfortable with that. Right, so that was the latest one, and that's just one thing. So we have a group of people that triage requests that are made by anybody. Anybody can make a request. Look, I think that I should be able to collect details of this, that, and the other. And sometimes we will go back to the person that's requested a function and say, really, this is against GDPR, or this we can't do. This is not. Have you really thought this through? And we do that, but generally we'll look at a request and we'll put it into the triage system. We've got at the moment quite a large number of backlogs, but the backlogs all seem to have come from ones that we looked at back in 2020, 2021, that really Beacon's moved on quite a lot since then. And we're now in a position where we're saying, right, we should look at those again, because some of them have completely gone out the window now. They've been overwritten by other things, and we'll get rid of them. We'll start again, not start again, but we'll take the ones that are important and continue to work through. While we're on enhancements, the next thing that comes through on enhancements is we've got the log on to the members portal. Now, we've all been talking about the members portal for some time, and the members portal at the moment, to get for a member of a u3a with Beacon to get into the members portal, they've got to put their membership number, their name, their email address, and the postcode. Now, a lot of people have said, oh, that's easy to get hold of. You can get all that information. You could log on as that person, and then maybe change details within it. So we're happy that we need to change it, and we're changing it to a username and password. The username will be the email address. And one of the things that's been holding us back a bit is the fact that we have a lot of u3as with members with joint emails. And it's not just been the fact that it's joint emails, it's been, right, if one of the joint emailees has wants to change a password and goes through the email, how do we separate that and say who it is that's changing their email address and the like? So there's been quite a lot of work done in how we segregate the two members, and especially around, I forgot my password and things like that. So these things do take time to work through. But we're at a position now where we're going to deliver this on the 18th of April. And working up to the 18th of April, we have a big job to make sure that all users, not just all users, but all members are aware that this is what's going to be happening to them. And what will happen is that when they try to log on with their 5 pieces of information, it will go, once they put the 5 pieces of information, it will go to a verification screen that will say, the system's changed, we now need you to enter your email address as a username and select a password. And you'll go through that routine. Once you've gone through that routine, next time you log in, you'll just use the email address and password going forward. So the important thing is that we now get out to everybody out there, this is what's going to happen. So they're the things that we're working on and we're developing going forward. We've got other things, email, membership cards and the like are all in the pot to be out really before the end of April, which I'm looking forward to. At the moment, because we've worked quite rigorously on the password, the development of the password software, we don't want to put any more enhancements on now until we deliver it on the 18th of April. So you'll see no changes to Beacon from now until the 18th, and that will come in. So we'll be sending out notes to everybody saying, please contact all the members. And I'm going to ask National Office if we can get something sent out through their database to chairmen and secretaries. So it doesn't just go to administrators. So on from that, we have a support team. And in the support team, we have about 30 people in the support team that we can, if we get a request for a u3a, we will go to the support team, look at the numbers that we've got, and we will contact one of the members of the support team to handhold and buddy a u3a that's going through the process. We'll not do the migration, but they will generally help get the data in the right order, make sure that there's no commas stuck on the back of it, they're in the middle of it, no spaces, everything in the correct condition for being imported into the system. Importing it into the system takes something like, an hour at the outside if everything's in place. And the big job, of course, for getting that data imported is making sure that the information that you've got in the spreadsheet is correct in the first place. And what we find is generally that we end up with duplicate membership numbers, duplicate names, or names in one area, which would be the membership list, which don't match with the names in the groups lists. Because the group leaders, if it's been left for the group leaders to manage their own groups, then you'll have Val Jones, and in the membership list, it's Valerie. And therefore it's getting that coordinated, doing VLOOKUPs and things like that to make sure that everything fits and everything works right. Once you've got everything in order, then it's pretty well straightforward and straight in. And we'll have one of those supporters stick with the u3a for up to 6 months in making sure that they're comfortable and happy with the way they're moving forward. On top of that, we've got training, and John Alexander manages the training team. And as you're aware, we've had several training for chairmen in Beacon, training for treasurers on Beacon, training for administrators on Beacon. And they're all done by individual volunteers. And we've only got so many. And therefore, we want to try and keep it at a reasonable size for a training session where people can ask questions and fully understand what we're trying to get over to them. And there has been some issues where people have said, look, I've tried to get on the training course, but it's been full every time I've tried to get on. Well, we do take notice of that, and we are adding all the time more courses, and we'll do our best to make sure that without actually upsetting any of our teams saying, oh, you need to do another one tomorrow and you need to do another one. We want to keep the team, and therefore we're just doing it at a steady pace to try and make sure everybody understands how to do things. And to be quite honest, if people are stuck on anything, they can ring me, they can contact the help desk, which I will come on to again further down the list. So we do training, and we do one-to-one. I've had someone send me an email this morning from somewhere way above Scotland saying, we're interested in Beacon. What can you do? Can you help us out? And I just sent a note back to him saying, of course we can. Here's my phone number, give me a ring. And you might say, bloody hell, you keep giving your phone number out. That's a bit dangerous. But in all honesty, I maybe get one call a week on, can you help me with Beacon? Most of it goes through the help desk, and it works very well. And so to jump to the help desk, you'll notice on Beacon, the Beacon users, and again, if you want, I'll bring the screen up at the end of my first bit. You'll notice that we've put help widget on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen in blue. And if you click on the help widget, it takes you directly to the manual, the user manual, and you can do a search for finance, search for help, search for whatever. And in the search, there is also a place that it says, I want to search to put a ticket in, for help. And it shows you how to get a ticket and record the fact that you've got a query. And that's always the best way to go about it. If you have got a problem, is to put in a ticket to the help desk, because in putting in a ticket to the help desk, it's recorded. And we've got statistics on where problems are and what people struggle with, rather than I'll ring up and I'll get help. Because if you ring up, you will get help, but we won't record it. So we advise, where possible, for you to go through the help desk, help widget, to get a ticket, and so that we can make sure that we follow up and the query is properly dealt with. But say, when you go on there, if you send in a request, just one thing before I continue, you won't mind if I don't answer any of the questions that come up in the chat, because it just puts me off. And I'm quite happy for the questions to come up, but I'm not going to answer them until we get to the end of the first bit.
Yes, absolutely fair. That's what I expect.
Yeah. And we do what we can, and a lot of the times things that come out of the help desk end up in triage to say, look, this is not working properly, or somebody's found something that's not quite right. Let's see what we can do about it. And we have a company called Sifware that we use to do our development work. And one of our team, who I think he'll be here today, is Graham Tigg, does a lot of work for us, providing specifications to help deliver those improvements. Because obviously when you go into a commercial company, it's important that you have got specifications to work to, or it gets a bit messy and a bit slushy, as you might say, like throwing things in a washing machine, rather than saying that's what we want to come out of it. We also have a testing team, and the testing team will take the initial results of the development and do user testing on it, see if they can break it. They usually do. I used to have a boss that every time I did anything, he could always find the fault, because he was so clumsy that he just push his way through, and then suddenly, oh, what happens when you get there? So that's exactly what the testing team are there to do, to make sure that when us normal mortals get at it, we don't wander down a blind corridor. But in the testing team, we just have 2 or 3 people, but we generally then, especially on this latest one with the introduction of the new login details, we've widened that to try and get a more secure, because it's a big change. We want to be sure that this is going to work without something going funny. I think that's all about user support. And we also have a forum, of course, and you'll all know about the forum. So if you want to have a chat amongst users, if you go to the forum and ask a question like, I don't know how to do this, or has anyone ever done this or that, they will get a reply. There's no doubt about it. And again, Graham supports us on the forum quite heavily, because he's heavily involved in the software and understands it very well. And you will normally get you get several answers through the forum. But the help desk is the right place to go for help. Right. What I thought, I don't know how far through we are, half an hour. That's basically the background to Beacon. Beacon going forward, we're continuing to develop Beacon to do what it does. And what it does is it manages the members, it manages the groups, it manages communications between groups and between members. It has a finance package. We are working on upgrading the finance package so it has more interface with bank accounts. At the moment, we every transaction needs to be put in Beacon manually, and we do realise that with internet banking and open banking apps and things like that, there is an opportunity to improve the interface with the banking, and so we're looking at that. We're also looking at improving the communications in that emails at the moment through Beacon, we have a list of tokens that can be put into an email, like first name, last name, familiar name, or whatever. And at the moment, if you put a first name or a last name in, you've got to put it in exactly as it's written or shown on the list of tokens, which is hash FAM is hash familiar name, or hash first name or whatever, or hash address. There's loads of things if you go and look at it, but you've got to write it in manually. Part of what we're trying to do, not too far away either, is using Tiny MCE, and we're looking at clicking on those tokens, and to put one in rather than to type it in. Because I always found initially when I was typing them in, I'd always get something a little bit wrong. I'd either leave a space or I'd put lowercase and not think about it. And of course, all it comes out is hash first name when it arrives, rather than Dear John, but we just click on them. The idea is just to click on them. And the other thing that will be in there will be spell check, which we know people have been asking for some time. So one of our team have been working on a specification to be able to pass that over to Sifware as soon as we've completed the deployment of the username and password. So that's the thing we're working on immediately. Going forward, what we are aiming for, since the loss of APT, we tried to get Beacon 2 up and running with APT, and the fact that APT eventually admitted that they had problems in giving us what we wanted. One of their problems was that they assumed when they took on the contract, although they had full access to all the paperwork, but they assumed that they would be able to produce software that was primarily for National Office to use, and for the u3a to be managed from National Office as one big u3a, rather than 1,000 individual u3as. And even when they understood it was 1,000 individual u3as, they still insisted on that it would just be one membership price, membership cost, and membership method. And that a treasurer would have this set of access rules, a membership secretary would have that set of access rules. And as people who use Beacon know, we've got a matrix where we can actually select just what access individual users have, which is a great benefit, I think, going forward in Beacon. So since we lost APT, and I will say at this point, we did get all the money back. There was a lot of concern about, we've paid £80,000, what's happened to that? And we did have a deficit of £80,000 in 1 year, but we got it back in the following year. So we're absolutely up to date and clear on that. So going forward, you're aware, of course, that Site Builder is to be replaced by SiteWorks, u3a SiteWorks. And we're talking with SiteWorks, and I'm sure that Chris Winner will come back, and when she does her talk, she'll confirm this. In fact, I don't know whether Chris is here today, but if she is, I'm sure we'll talk about it later on. But we're talking with SiteWorks in that we want to be able to integrate Beacon in some way into SiteWorks, so that, and we do realise that the front end of Beacon and the methodology in Beacon screens is all about using a desktop, really. And when we try it on smaller platforms like smartphones and iPads, then we end up with a problem of size. And my plan has always been, and I will still push for, is that we would like to have, going forward, a single landing platform for all SiteWorks and Beacon, where if you using buttons rather than using lots of lists of names, where using the buttons, you can navigate from the initial platform, say, I would like to edit SiteWorks, or I would like to go into finance, or I would like to go into membership. So just have an option of 6 buttons on there, and you go to where you want. Also on that page, and what we were working with APT on, is that if you've got an interest in a particular group, or in a u3a region, or you've booked to go on a u3a trip, all those details are wanting to get onto that front page. So as a member, you would go into, even if you weren't authorized user or editor of either Beacon or or SiteWorks, as just an ordinary member, if you clicked on from into the website and you want to go into the members area, you would just click on to your members page, and on your members page will be 6 buttons that took you to if you were authorized to do so, would take you to the areas that you were responsible for. Or there'd just be a page that said your current information on XX trip would be you still owe £5, or you've paid so much, or whatever it is, or the next thing to happen in the region is this, and just have their own little news page for every single person. And that's the idea going forward with Beacon and SiteWorks. SiteWorks at the moment are working on getting their platform working. And we have only had overall discussions on this is how we want it to be. We would like it to be. We can't force it because SiteWorks are their own team. And they've not said no. So I'm hoping that going forward, we'll get a chance to be able to build on that and make that work. And that really is where we are with Beacon at the moment. So if you wish, I'm quite happy to take questions and do what I can to enlighten you where possible.
Right, we've got a question in chat, Kathy.
Yeah.
Will Beacon be offering a route for u3a's website to access group information so we can avoid having to keep 2 systems updated?
Correct. That's exactly what I'm talking about there. The idea is that we integrate either with API or whatever with SiteWorks in order to have one common truth, so that we only have one list of groups. We only have one list of group meeting times, group activities, and you would accept or access it through one single source, one single place, and update it through one single place.
Yes, because that's one of the trickiest things to do at the moment, isn't it? How to keep two lists and get them in the same places and the same details.
Yeah, and they don't always match.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed. And that really is key to what we're trying to do.
Mm. But that's not going to come in until the SiteWorks integration.
It will not.
Right. We're stuck with it for a while. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. More questions, Kathy? That's good. We have one from Jill at Hartney Whitney. Will the process for forgotten passwords be automated?
The answer is yes. So what happens, we need, with the passwords, the email to be verified. So what will happen is that, number one, you'll log in as you think you're logging in normally with your 5 pieces of information. Once you have logged in there with your 5 pieces of information, it will then say, right, select your put in your username as your email address and select a password. It will then come back to you to verify that email address. If you've forgotten your password, and that was the thing that's delayed it quite some time, with the 2 people having the same username, which is same email address, it will ask you which person you are out of the 2 people if you are on that situation, and then you'll just go through the routine, but it will verify your email address again.
Okay.
Automatic. You don't have to go in to ask the membership secretary to do anything. And in fact, if a membership secretary changes your email address and rather than you doing it through the portal, next time you go in, it will say your email address is incorrect. Please re-enter everything, all your information, and we will then re-verify it.
Okay, next question I've got is from Simon Waller at Bishop's Cleeve. Will it be possible to be notified when a member changes their address so that we can keep any paper gift aid records up to date?
At the moment, I believe, I don't know everything about BIC, I should do, I know. It notifies or it will do, because this is one of the things we've been talking about, the membership secretary when an email, when something's changed in the membership record. But what happens now with Beacon on gift aid is that it does keep a record of any changes to the status of a member, and it keeps a log of that status change. And you'll see that already implemented. If you go and have a look, there is a gift aid log that you can go and look at and see when people's gift aid status changed.
And you can see on the audit log, if you're the administrator, can't you?
Yes, you can. But there's also
who's been trying to. I've had 2 this week who've both tried to log in to the portal and failed, and I've had to email them and say, "What's the problem? Can I help?" Because there's so much information needs to go in there, and so exactly.
Yeah.
I think they've got sort of hidden trailing spaces that they don't know about. But
well, I think that's exactly.
It was easy to just fix it on the database, to be honest.
Yeah, yeah. But it does. I mean, many times there are things like that are a comma in somewhere that we didn't. You know.
Yeah. So much precision that we're not used to now. We're testing everything.
Well, unfortunately, going forward, there's unless you use fuzzy logic, but that doesn't always work that well, because the idea of having a password and having it is you've got to do it exactly as it is, not just have it'd be somewhere approximate for that to decide, oh, this is the password it means. That would defeat the object at the end of the day, I think.
Okay, next question I've got here is from Pamela. I think it may be Bearsden and Milgai. in Scotland. Why can we not access the Beacon training course materials ourselves so that we can present them locally?
It's something to think about. John Alexander manages the training, and there's quite a lot of work goes on in the background to make sure the trainers are trained to deliver it. But having said that, it's something because we are struggling to get it out to everybody, you know, and the courses are always full. It's something that I can approach at our next meeting, which is a week on Monday, with the training team.
Yeah, just to piggyback onto that, Frank, you do have a U3A Beacon YouTube channel, don't you, with about 7 videos on it?
Yes, we have.
We can obviously include that link in the chat for people
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah.
But that might get people started to have a bit of an overview even before they're booked on a course or whatever. So, yeah. So on to the next one, John Steitch at Lockheath U3A. When will the black help sign be removed now that we have a help icon on the bottom left?
Ah, yes. The black help sign that pops up, the pop-up, that tends to cover the things you're trying to get at. We are aware that it would be nice to be able to turn it on and off. Yes. And it's something that, again, we've got in our triage at the moment. One of the problems we've got with it is the way that Beacon was written in the first place, it's in so many corners of the software rather than be a cold icon, that it's going to take some time to work through it. Let me get it down. Sorry about that, everybody. Wouldn't die. Yes, it's the difficulty is it's in so many corners of the software at the moment that it's something we know we want to do, but it's going to be some time before we do it, I think.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to the next one. It's Richard at Stroud U3A. Is there any plan to beef up the emailing, composing and editing facility for composing better, more eye-catching messages, e.g. for news, font choices, sizes, bold, etc.?
There is. And I did touch on that in the discussion, in that, yes, we've already got a specification to beef the email composition up and ease the inserting of tokens.
Okay. Coming back to gift aid, question from Mike Field. On the issue of gift aid, it is far more complicated than simply asking the basic questions. HMRC are currently targeting U3A's expenditure, and any expenditure paid from subscriptions to pay for monthly meetings, subsidised groups that require a hall or a sports hall, do not qualify for gift aid and need to be deducted from the gross amount before making a claim. That's
correct. We agree. In fact, and the HMRC seem to be on a bit of a push with U3As at the moment. And the fact that they are suggesting that any group that gives a benefit to a member that is not available to the general public would disqualify their membership from being gift aided. That's what they're suggesting at the moment. Now, I was talking to HMRC yesterday, and I have a meeting going forward to try and get this sorted out properly within our terms and conditions and our constitution of what our actual aims are as a U3A organisation. But as yet, we've not tidied that up. This is one thing that we're actually working on at the moment. Yes, sorry.
Can I just make a comment? The reason I raised it is I'm also dealing with HMRC.
Yeah.
Groups that meet in people's homes they have accepted with us they don't have a problem with. It's only the ones where they meet in halls or in sports halls, and our monthly meetings, the cost of the hall and so on, they're adamant that those have to be deducted. But that's as much as they are now asking us to deduct. I've had quite a long discussions.
Who can I ask who you were talking to? Who did?
I can look up
It
his
could be
name.
on the same people.
It's the Liverpool branch of HMRC that we're dealing with it, and I think it probably is the same person there, but I'd need to look it up.
Okay.
I can do that in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, fine.
Okay. There's a lady that has to go shortly, Frank, but basically what she was saying was she was hoping to see an opportunity to see Beacon rather than just have it talked about. Is that something that you could do on one of these sessions or cover a little bit today?
I could cover a bit today quite easily, but if she's going, then it's a bit late, isn't it?
But it might benefit the others.
But again, to be quite honest, if she gives me a ring, I can show one-to-one. I'm quite happy to do that. Not that I haven't got anything to do, mind you.
Okay. How do they reach out to you? Because I don't want you to be inundated with things, but is there a specific way you want to be contacted?
If they drop an email into info@beacon.u3a.org.uk,
okay,
or frank.bailey at beacon.u3a.org.uk, then they'll both come. I will have access to both those areas.
Okay. It's Steve Carroll.
That's the one, Steve Carroll. Yeah.
I have it in writing from him that the only area now point of issue for us are these two areas: subsidies for helping the groups with hall costs, and other. That's basically it.
Well, that's it. It's actually subsidies with groups with hall costs. It's because I discussed to him that anybody, in fact, and it is the case, that anybody who, any group that meets outside in a hall or anything like that, if they club together and pay for that themselves, it doesn't, obviously that's not gift aidable, but it doesn't affect any of the membership.
No, we make a small charge towards it, but we do subsidize it a little bit.
Yeah, well,
and he's saying that anything that we subsidize, we can deduct if we deduct from the claim.
Yeah, I can understand that.
Okay.
Do you want to ask your question, Anne?
Can you hear me now?
We can, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
With regard to gift aid, what about the u3as who don't have the system where they pay a small subscription and then the groups deal with payment for venues themselves? What about the u3as that pay one annual subscription and then pay the venues for the groups as they go along?
Right, for the u3as that have, I mean, this is becoming a gift aid thing rather than a Beacon thing, but for the u3as that do an overall subscription, 50, 60 pounds, whatever it is, the type of wherever you are, and it's all inclusive, then in fact it's already in the recommendations from the trust that you can only claim a base membership, and anything that then goes out to pay for the halls and all the other bits and pieces, you can't claim. It's got to be stripped out. And also, if you look at whatever it is, 37.3.2, it tells you in there that if you have an overall subscription, then only the base amount that allows you to go and visit the AGM and vote is allowed as far as gift aid is concerned. So we did discuss it this week at our enhancement team, saying that at the moment what you've got is that we take the membership fee, and the people who are eligible for gift aid will take the whole membership fee, because most u3as are you pay £15, and if you want to go to a wine tasting group, you'll pay the extra to cover the wine, or if you want to go to somewhere where you need to hire a hall, you'll pay the extra to cover the hall. And it works okay for that. So what I was suggesting at our meeting was that maybe instead of having, when you go into classes at the moment, you can set your class fees. And so if you join as an individual class, then the individual class might be £50 for membership overall, element eligible for gift aid, £10, you know, and so that will only collect from that £50. It'll only put into the system £10 as eligible for gift aid. But at the moment, those u3as have got to strip out all the fees for the.
What do you think will happen to those u3as that haven't been doing that?
I don't think that the HMRC, from my discussions that I've had with the HMRC, I don't think they're going to go retrospectively to look at any of the u3as to recover.
Mm-hmm.
What they're doing is trying to make sure that it's called outreach officer is Stephen, and he is looking to make sure that we, going forward, that all u3as understand what their responsibilities are.
Thank you very much, Frank. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay,
Thank
can we
you.
move on away from gift aid for a moment?
Yeah.
I was actually just going to make a point to Frank. If that is the situation, at the moment, I don't think Beacon allows you to separate out the costs in a way that would allow you to pull up easily the costs that have been used for subsidising halls, etc. Is there any possibility of that being added to the Beacon?
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. At the moment, it just takes the one cost.
Mm.
You've paid your membership fee. It takes the membership fee and puts it into the file. Going forward, we discussing whether we should put this into the triage of actually saying, right, out of that £50, only £9.50 or whatever it is actually eligible for claiming gift aid against the membership fee, and therefore it would substitute the £50 for £9.50 in the amount claimed.
Okay.
At the moment, what you've got to do, and the u3a should have been doing it up to now, is that for all that amount of fee that goes towards room hire and everything else, it should be apportioned, and then obviously you've got to strip it off the actual fees that have been recorded on the Excel spreadsheet to send into HMRC. Now everybody maybe have £50 against them that they've paid, and you might say, right, well, we've got to strip that out and say, right, all the 50 is equal 10.
Well, the way I've been told to do it is to actually total up the full subsidy cost, in other words, the cost of the hall hire, the speakers' costs, etc., and put that as a deducting amount.
Oh, that's absolute magic.
Yeah. And that's a much simpler way of doing it rather than trying to apportion it.
No, that's absolutely brilliant. I mean, I haven't got that far with him yet.
Good luck.
It's quite insistent, isn't it?
It is.
Okay. Kathy, can we move on to some other items now?
Yes, indeed. Sure.
That's fine. Thank you. This is from Susan Kirkwood and 5u3a. Thinking of data protection, will personal details be held on UK servers in the new Beacon system? I don't know if you've got a new Beacon system, but I'm guessing that we already are covered. Is that the case?
Yes, we are. They're held on servers, and they're held on the backups are held on the main server, but we also have an offsite backup that's held in Cambridge, away from London.
Right. Right, moving on to the next one from David Martin. Is the plan that Beacon will continue to be developed into the foreseeable future?
There is a plan, and the plan is that the money that we take from u3as in subs or not subs, but actual payment for Beacon is, I like to think it's ring fenced to a certain extent, but the majority of it is used for development of Beacon.
Okay. Jean Sinclair at Ayleston says, where can we find the logs that you were talking about?
It's in, should I share the screen and see if I can find it?
Yep, by all means, please, please.
Let's have a quick look. Should be.
There's an audit log there.
Audit log.
Yeah, but it's not in the audit log.
top
It's
of-
not in. There's an additional screen. If we go into membership renewals, no, I'm not shown on there either. Sorry. If you put up the whole membership fee into the gift aid list that you're sending off to HMRC, and then put a removal of that amount that's being used for, or a negative amount for being used for whole hire and what have you. I don't know how they managed to apportion it to individual people who said they're gift aid eligible and paying tax. I think that's a problem that we need to think about without talking to the HMRC.
Okay, I've got another question. This is from Francis Kilburn at Evesham. In our u3a, only group leaders can access the group info and then only their own group. Ordinary members cannot use the email. Also, the membership portal only used for renewal of membership. Is this because our u3a do not have other features switched on?
Correct. There are several features in. If that's one thing I can show you, because I can show you that in. Let's go on to that.
And this is the demo site, which has no personal details. Correct.
Yes.
Yeah, fine. There were some questions about were you sharing personal details? So.
No, not at all.
That's fine. Thank you.
Because you know I can't. I'm not allowed.
Yep.
Right. Let's go there, and then we'll do a save. Right. Come share. Right, if you look down the miscellaneous again down here, there are public links. So if I go onto public links, this everything's done there. So right, configure membership portal. So you can do membership renewals. You can look at all the groups. You can look at the calendars, and you can actually change personal details. You might say, oh no, in your situation, that's all you've got set up. And then on the group information, you can say how much group information you want to show in the members portal. So that's fairly simple to configure. I promise you, people don't ring all that often. I lie.
They just know you're busy at the moment. It's
Right.
the way it is.
Yeah. And so this is here therefore to be able to configure easily what you want to be showing at the moment through the portal itself. If you look at the top, a new membership application, if you set that up in your website at the moment, and somebody clicks on that, then they'll get an application form. Obviously, members portal, if you put that in, then they can go there. So there are various things you can do to configure just what people can see or what people can do when they go into the members portal. They'll only be able to go renew, of course, if you're within the period of renewal for your u3a. And you can set that. I mean, you can set that to 52 weeks if you want. It's not a problem. But generally they set maybe to a couple of weeks before to up to 8 weeks afterwards. And then at that point, they'll appear on the, when you do a renewal list, they'll appear that they've been at a point where they either need an email sending to them or you lapse them. It's dependent on your rules and what you want to do at your u3a. But they're all there. The people who haven't paid for the last year, well, at the end of the year, or paid for the year you're in, will be there in the list. And what we do as our membership secretary, first time clicks on send a notice that they've not renewed and the period of their grace period is now expired. What would they like to do? Are they looking to resign, and if there's some of them say resign, so they'll resign them. If they don't resign, then they'll leave it a couple of weeks and then lapse them, and they'll all disappear.
Okay, Vivek's got a hand up. Is that a follow-on question?
It was to the one David Martin asked before. And so it was really just to say, Frank, what's happened to the vision of Beacon 2? I mean, SiteWorks doing the website, if you like. You talked about a common landing page. What about the dream of a common database and then trying to deal with events and trying to deal with electronic payments? That became a real problem for my u3a this year when the payment with PayPal didn't work, and suddenly it became a full-time job for the membership secretary to have to deal with e-payments because she had to deal with people coming up with queries manually for every, well, large number of members.
Yeah, the PayPal gateway does work, and we've worked on PayPal gateway to make it more secure. There have been, when we went through a period where Beacon was running relatively slowly, then we had double hits on buttons and things like that that were upsetting the communications with PayPal. We are at a position now where we've introduced an additional server. We've got load sharing between the servers, and PayPal is relatively secure and operating well. Admittedly, we only use PayPal at this point in time. And again, it's something else that we're progressing at the moment is how do we take payments for other things other than membership? So that's one thing we want to be able to do through Beacon. And how do we manage events? And they're both things that we want to manage through Beacon. But if we can get aligned properly with SiteWorks, there's no reason why they shouldn't be done through SiteWorks, the actual management of events. And so we're waiting for SiteWorks to catch up and be in a position to be able to discuss how we share database. Which, as you know, is not an easy thing to do.
Are there any plans to have other payment mechanisms in Beacon than just PayPal? People are now used to paying in a variety of different ways.
We talked earlier about managing the banking. And in managing the banking, then we're looking at how other payment methods would work. At the moment, we don't have a direct interface to the bank. It's not like we could use Apple Pay or something like that. But at the moment, we don't have a direct connection to any banks. I believe that the one that's most popular through u3as is the interface that interfaces with Lloyds Bank, and it does interface with other banks. And I think, and I don't know because I've never used it, but I think SagePay will actually interface with your bank, and you can draw down the statements direct from the bank and import them into Sage. Whereas at the moment we can't. That's one thing we want to be able to do, and that's what we're looking at.
Okay, coming back, I've got two people asked fairly similar questions, so I'll amalgamate one. First one was from Pamela, again at Bearsden and Mulgay. I would like to think that beacon replacement is still on the agenda. Has this been abandoned? Followed by Alan Hopwood at Dorchester saying, all systems get to the point that further development becomes more difficult than starting again. When do you think that point will be reached?
I think, what is it, 23 now? I think in the next 5 years, we need to be providing with all the information that we've got from Beacon and the way it works and everything else. We should be planning on looking at something a little bit more flexible on platforms. And obviously the first step is to try and integrate with SiteWorks to give you that experience, and then moving forward from there.
It's a broader one, Frank. At the moment, all of our Beacon, even SiteWorks, coming from, if you like, the software paradigm or the way of doing it, whereas we're now moving into the service paradigm. I'm the Zoom admin person, for example, for my local u3a and my region. And there, they deal with all the technical problems. I mean, u3as are fragile organizations. All new features are integrated, tested, they work, and you just use them. Are we thinking of moving to a service paradigm? Because that seems to be the way the world of cloud computing is moving. And I just wondered what your reflections were on that.
Well, my reflections is we are providing a service paradigm to a certain extent, but the way we look to go forward is to make to provide a system, whether it be Beacon in PHP as it is at the moment, or a different system. Things are evolving all the time, as you know, that people can use on multi-platforms. That's what we're looking to go towards, and we are aware that in 5 years' time we'll have to do something that is more user acceptable as far as screen images and the like go.
Okay, just one of our users, Terry Moore at Raven, said, was saying our gift aid log is blank. What needs to happen? And somebody suggested they might need to change the date to something in the past. Can you just give some confirmation on that?
The gift, because that's only just been done.
Mm-hmm.
It will only start logging from when people start renewing online.
Okay.
Or when it's renewed by the membership secretary.
That's all the relevant questions I've got from my end. Back to Kathy.
So have we got any other points that have occurred to people as we go along?
Okay.
Sounds as though we've answered all the questions there, Frank.
I've
Thank
done
you
what I
very
could.
much indeed. That's brilliant. It's good to get such a good view of what's going on and what's planned to go on and what might possibly go on in the vast future. So that is really, really helpful. Thank you very much indeed.
If you want a demonstration of Beacon, that's a different thing, and I'm quite happy to do it at a later date.
Thank you.
I think we'll take you up on that offer. Thank you, Frank.
That's fine. That's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine.
Alison.
Thanks, Kathy. Yeah, just to come back on the gift aid point. I mean, I think it's a separate point from Beacon.
Indeed.
But we will have a look. Frank and myself are speaking to someone who absolutely knows what they're talking about tomorrow on all of this to get his advice. And if need be, we'll put something out from a trust centrally. I don't know who you spoke to, Mike, but it would be good to maybe if we could follow up that conversation after this and just make sure you've got all the information you need from us. And
stay on the line at the end. Okay.
Okay, I've got one question that's actually quite interesting, one from Peter Buttle. Says, thanks, Frank. Is there a plan to add social committee event management into Beacon? We currently use groups functionality for this.
No, again, events is something that I decided that we will wait until we get the site works up and running and manage events through site works, but linked to Beacon. Our u3a also uses the groups for events, social or tripwise or anything else.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, well, we've almost reached the point where we normally close the meeting around about 2:30. Cassie, do you want to wrap up and take it from there?
Yes, I think probably we have completed as much as we can sensibly do today. We've got a lot of people going to be going away with food for thought, and perhaps exploring Beacon a little bit more than they have done in the past. I hadn't noticed that gift aid log until it was pointed out, so thank you very much for that. And so I'd really like to thank Frank very much indeed for all his time and work on this. I'm sure the rest of you will hope you'll agree with me on that. And also Alison for helping to get this special session set up. And look forward to seeing you, many of you, at future sessions here and on the Facebook group. Thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you.